Between them and beer or traffic, I don't know which one.
We're going to end on a high note. We've got Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google. That's pretty good.
Be careful what you wish for.
He became CEO in 2015. I learned I didn't have to Google. He was right here to answer that question for me. I remember, though, my moment with you came, I know we'd met before, but in 2008, when we did a story for Wired magazine, we were embedded in the Chrome project, which Sundar headed, and he had this crazy idea that Google should do a browser and it can compete with the dominant browsers on the internet. And how did Chrome do?
I think we've done well.
Yeah, like the most popular in the world. Is that true? Yeah, so that was pretty good. So, I was working on a book about Google back then, and it came out about 7 years ago. And I think in the last few years, a lot has happened to make me wonder what's different about Google than it was just a few years ago in the pre-mobile, pre-AI world there. Is Google different? Is the mission still the same, which is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible? Or is it something broader or different now than it was from that founding mission that Larry and Sergey had?
That's a good question. I think we had a chance to reflect upon it. We turned 20 years old, and just this past month, and so it gives you a chance to step back and think about it. I think there are many ways in which the company is still the same, and in some ways different. I do think our mission feels timeless to me. We're fortunate to have a mission which I think is still as applicable today. Our values feel the same to me, and as a company, I think if anything, with the Google Alphabet transition, I think we feel rejuvenated about working on the core problem of information. I think we can do it better because of AI, and so that's been a core focus. People still work. I still think it's possible in the company to, for individual engineers to work and create new things, just like we did Gmail or News. When we launched Google Duplex as a pretty profound technology, it was started by an engineer who was frustrated at the time it took to call a restaurant. So I think things like that happen. It's definitely changed in the sense that we have many products now. We've humbled and fortunate to serve billions of users, which with it comes a sense of responsibility now. I think we are much more deliberate about what we do and how we think about it. And now when we think about impact, we don't think about users alone. We think about users, groups of people, societies, institutions, nonprofit, for-profit businesses, and so we take a more expansive look at it. And also, I think when we think about information problems, rather than just search alone, we think about, well, how can we use better information to help healthcare or education? And so it's expansive that way. So many things the same, but I think a lot of exciting differences as well.
And the structure is different. You're the CEO of Google. Google is part of a larger enterprise, a holding company called Alphabet, where the founders of the company 20 years ago, Larry and Page and Sergey Brin, work there. I'm sort of curious about their involvement in there, and sort of to paraphrase or even quote Bloomberg Businessweek, where's Larry?
I mean, Larry is doing what he loves to do. I think both Larry and Sergey, I think, they are at their best when they're not thinking about what other people are working on today, but they're thinking further ahead, and they tend to think in 10-year time frames about what you can do. And I think partly the structure allows them to do that. I think the way Alphabet is set up is we do have other efforts. We call them other bets. You can Waymo, Calico, etc. are great examples of it, Verily. And so they focused on that. They spend time with the people who run those groups, and they do that pretty deeply and regularly. And they are there. I meet them once a week too, and it's working as we intended it to.
And how often, say, would you be talking to Larry?
And we still do our weekly meetings at Google. We get up on, we used to do it on Fridays, but it's now on Thursdays. And we take questions from the company and we answer. And Google is a wonderful place. There's a lot of debate about everything. And
we can talk about that, yeah.
And we do that every Thursday night.
And the other big change. Now, Google, I always saw Google as an AI company. But in the past few years, like other companies too, AI has just become so much more central, particularly machine learning, deep learning AI. Tell me about that transition, what that means, and how Google's trying to drive AI, not only within the company, but into the mainstream of business and life in general.
Look, I mean, we are very excited by it, and I think we've made a big bet on it as a company. Google has always had this kind of academic, deep computer science approach to things, and it's what we believe we are good at. And you're fortunate once in a while to come across something which you think is pretty profound, and I'm sure as all of you understand, AI is that. And so, as a company, we are working hard. I think it's a cross-cutting thing which will impact many fields, and so we take that view. For us, seeing the work we can do on healthcare or even education, etc., I think AI feels very profound. So, we are putting a lot of effort into it. I do think we have some of the best-in-class teams across Google and DeepMind and so on. And so, pretty excited at the progress. Just last, Friday, we just published a paper on detecting breast cancer, and the fact that AI working with pathologists together outperform either pathologists doing it alone or AI doing it alone. It's an exciting finding, and things like that really motivate us to do more.
Right. Well, certainly at Wired we celebrate AI, but we also, following pretty closely the discussions about ethics in AI, which I know you folks are concerned in. What principles do you operate on to make sure that the AI you develop, and maybe in helping with other places in the AI in general, is moves along ethically in a way that's not going to harm people and or take us over and kill us?
Now, look, I mean, this is why we stepped back as a company, and once we started working on AI, we realized this is different from other things we have worked on. And so as a company, I think we publicly published and committed ourselves to a set of AI principles. I think we've gone more comprehensive than most other companies, than anyone else. And we've kind of articulated our goals in terms of how we would do it, our how we would approach our work, and things we would not pursue too. And I think we are spending a lot of time thinking about it. And I think it is something which will need to evolve over time, but we need to take it very, very seriously.
Do you think that Google and the industry in general can self-regulate those ethics, or at some point would you welcome some outside body or even the government making sure that AI proceeds ethically?
Look, I think the scale at which technology is impacting society, you are going to see regulation. I think it's important. There is thoughtful regulation on these things, and we think that's the right thing. We do need to self-regulate quite a bit, because sometimes regulation follows rather than keeping pace with it. I would draw a parallel to geneticists and biologists, like when they are progressing with technologies like CRISPR. They draw boundaries on what they would do and they would not do well before regulations come into play. And so we see our work the same way when we're working on AI, and I think it's good to do both.
So earlier on the stage we had Jeff Bezos, and I asked him about the work that they're doing in defense contracts, both in the sky with Blue Origin and on the ground in AWS as a Project Jedi. Google, after a lot of internal discussion, we could talk about how that discussion goes on inside Google, has decided, tell me if this is correct, that it's not going to bid on this Defense Department Cloud Computing Project Jedi, and you had a contract with the Department of Defense with thing called Project Mavens to use AI in the military, and you're not going to renew that there. Talk about that. What led to that? You know, I don't. Maybe you can tell me whether you call it a reversal or not. But what led to Google's decision really to looks like back away from using AI in defense work?
Look, I mean, maybe a few clarifications. We do work with the military. Obviously we deeply respect, what they do to protect our country. We cherish, as Google, we have values. As a society, we cherish our values, but we can enjoy that because of the way our country is defended. And so, I do want to say we deeply respect the military, and we are working with them on a set of projects. And we are going to continue to do on a set of projects which we are qualified to do so, areas like cybersecurity or even logistics, transportation, planning, etc. The only area where we are being more deliberate about is where AI gets used with autonomous weaponry, AI and weaponry. And that's why I gave it's not just a concern of employees. If you talk to senior researchers working in the field, in the AI community, there's just worries about, when you're so early with a powerful technology, how do you thoughtfully work your way through it? And that's why I gave the biology example. And I think the parallel holds true here, that we are thoughtful about it. But I think we are committed to, with the JEDI contract, it is more of a wholesale contract. We don't have all the certifications. But I think over time there'll be opportunities for us to work with the military on many things. And you can also imagine as a consumer company, on many aspects, we are not the best qualified company to do it in certain projects. But we are definitely going to be thoughtful about how we think about it.
How much was the voice of your employees a factor in this?
We throughout Google's history, we've given our employees a lot of voice and say in it, but we don't run the company by holding referendums or, so it's an important input. We take it seriously. But even on this particular issue, it's not just what the employees said. It's more also the debate within the AI community around, how you pursue your work in this area.
Another interesting area, you mentioned the duplex project there. And that was a fascinating thing. Maybe I'll let you describe a little what is, rather than my characterization of it. But what's duplex?
I mean, it's where using AI, at least in a narrow domain, we are able to act on behalf of people. So if you want to call a restaurant, book a reservation, we tell this is an automated service from Google Calling, and we would like to book an appointment for you and do that. It's a good area where we have been very deliberate about it. We have the capability to roll it out much faster than what we have done. We want to test it and make sure people are okay with it. People give us the right feedback, and we are iterating through it.
But the thing that was fascinating about it, what a lot of people noticed was, when you conversed with this thing, it was so good that, in part because you put in conversational pauses and made people feel that they were talking with a human being, which on one hand could give them a comfort level of being able to ask freely what they want, and sometimes people are stilted when they talk to something that sounds automated. On the other hand, some people had concerns that people might be tricked, maybe not so much by duplex, but down the road that we wouldn't know whether we're talking to a bot or not.
Look, with every technology, we are actually doing deep AI work to detect when something is AI on the other side, right? So, it's no different from spam or anything else you work on. I think part of the reason it's important to work on technology is technology ends up progressing, whether we want it to or not. And, I feel on every important technology, it's important that, you work aggressively to make sure the outcome is good. And that's the way we think a lot about our work.
So let's talk, about another probably favorite subject, China. We've been hearing, that Google has been working on a project Dragonfly, which is a search engine which would be able to work with the Chinese rules of censorship. Now, I spend a lot of time in my book writing about Google's experience in China previously, and it had a search engine that worked, attempted to work within those boundaries. Super controversial inside the company. Eventually, the company pulled out. Why consider that again? Why go back in? And what's the status of Dragonfly?
Stephen, you wrote a lot about it. For those of you who aren't familiar, in 2006, Google, went into China. We served search, and in 2010, we stopped serving search in China. But we didn't exit the country. We have engineers, and over the past few years, we've hired more people. Android is obviously a very popular operating system there, and we support small, medium businesses there in terms of them exporting their products, etc. So we are in the market. It's been 8 years. Every time we are in a country, look, we are compelled by our mission is to provide information to everyone, and it's 20% of the world's population, and so it does weigh heavily on us. Anytime we do work in countries across the world, it's probably people don't understand it fully, but we are always balancing set of values. We are providing users access to information, freedom of expression, user privacy, but we also follow the rule of law in every country we do. Obviously, when it comes to China, given our history, it's a more weighty topic. Our intent was, the reason we did the internal project was to completely, it's been many years, we've been out of the market. It's a wonderful, innovative market. We wanted to learn what it would look like if Google were in China. So that's what we've built internally. If Google were to operate in China, what would it look like? What queries will we be able to serve? It turns out we'll be able to serve well over 99% of the queries. And there are many, many areas where we would provide information better than what's available. Take when people type cancer treatments. Today people either get fake cancer treatments or they actually get useful information. So things like that weigh heavily on us. But we want to balance it with what the conditions would be. So we haven't made. It's very early. We don't know whether we would or could do this in China, but we felt it was important for us to explore. I take a long-term view on this, and I think it's important for us, given how important the market is and how many users there are. We feel obliged to think hard about this problem and take a long-term view. So.
Right. Well, you've been at Google since what, 2004?
Yeah.
Is that right? I remember that. And I guess the theme of the day is, when Wired started out, we were, just brimming with optimism about what the internet was going to do, and kind of how, freedom of expression would go forth. The late John Perry Barlow, who was, a big part of our community, expounded on this, and we've seen, you just talked about it, the various things, considerations in China, how it's a more tough world to spread that kind of freedom that the internet seemed to provide. And now we're having things, and Google's right in the middle of it. We heard some of that in Susan's session, fighting fake news and misinformation. Tell me where you stand on this. Are you as optimistic as you were in 2004?
There are many, many times we run into, as part of the work, we run into people getting access to information for the first time, either buying their first phone or, you see the impact it has. I grew up without access to computing, and when I got it much later in my life, and for sure it impacted my life very, very positively and profoundly, and so I still carry that optimism with me every day. But we do realize technology is working at scale, and with that comes a different lens with which you look at, and I think it's important to be deliberate, thoughtful, have larger societal goals as we make progress through it. But there is no doubt to me, just looking at the work and the results we are getting by using technology in healthcare alone, there is no doubt to me there's a lot of positive impact ahead. But we need to learn from what's happened and pick it up, but and continue working on it.
And just one final thing there. I did want to mention who you nominated for your next 25. Can you just briefly tell us who that was?
Look, it's a wonderful organization. It's from my hometown in India. It's called Aravind Eye Foundation, and they see about 2,000 patients a day, and They try and cure eye diseases, and they do mostly their work for free. And Dr. Kim, I mean, the ethics and the values with which these people approach their work. We started working with them because we developed an AI model which can detect early onset of blindness. And if you do it, if you detect it early, it's completely curable. But most people don't get detected early, and we are now testing it with them so that they can use that to detect it in more people. It's a good example of how you think about technology. Dr. Kim would say, people ask questions about, hey, with the AI, are you worried it'll impact your job? He thinks about it as, it'll give me a chance to treat more than 2,000 patients a day, and I want to be able to do that. So it's a pleasure to be able to honor Dr. Kim.
Well, on that technology optimistic note, I thank you.
All right, thank you.